Harrison, the England captain, out there.
On the wing, and Harrison winning his 13th cap for England. And the referee, René Urquet, waiting for the signal from the television engineer on the touchline to get this game underway. Asking the Welsh skipper, Richard Moriarty, if he's ready to receive. The 93rd match between Wales and England about to get underway in the most unusual circumstances at Ballymore Park, and it's England Webb to kick off. Almost an orthodox kick-off. Robert Jones shadowing the ball down as it goes over the touchline in the in-goal area, and so it'll be a dropout to Wales. And you'll notice there Brevin Bowen, who's had all kinds of hamstring problems since arriving in New Zealand, is very heavily strapped up. Brevin Bowen in the centre for his 14th cap. Jonathan Davis biding his time. Neat little drop out for his forwards to run on to Dooley, gets a hand to it. Dean Richards is through there for England as England drive down towards the Welsh 22. It's good ball out of the England strikers, back to Williams, the left-footed hoist. Corbin seems to be momentarily out of position, and it's anxious moment. René Urquet's decision is come 5. Well, the Welsh defence in disarray there. No, it's going to be a dropout. And here's the action replay. Hesitant moments, Gareth Davis.
Yes, it was not very reassuring for the Welsh defence there, but an excellent kick by Peter Williams, and I thought they've obviously looked at this tactic and how are they going to prepare for the game. Put a lot of pressure on Paul Coburn at fullback.
During the action replay, Wales dropped out from the 22, long drop out, but it was returned with some interest by John Webb, the England fullback, and so it's a line out on the 10-metre line. Just inside the England half. David Young there, winning his first cap. Bob Dorster, the experienced British Lion. Phillips with a throw, finds Dorster, the Cardiff combination working in the line out. Jonathan Davis returning the compliment, the high up and under. Richards is underneath it for England, but it's offside. John Deborah adjudged to be in front of the ball after the kick. So it'll be Peter Williams, the England outside half, some 10 metres outside his 22. Left-footed that time, and that's a lovely kick from Williams, eating up the distances. Tony Gray in the stand. These are early moments, anxious moments for him. Wade Dooley, 6'7". Phillips to throw. Redmond jumping at the front for England. This one goes to the tail of the line out. Moriarty takes. It's a good take by Wales. Good clean drive from them if they can get the ball back to Robert Jones. Jones trying to catch his opposite number offside. That's Richard Harding of Bristol. Webb is underneath it, but it's a penalty to Wales. The referee quite intelligently waiting for the advantage, but then signalling that Harding had gone offside after that disguise by Robert Jones. Jonathan Davis again. That's a fine looking kick from Jonathan Davis, gaining some 23 metres. Martin Green, the England coach. So it's Brian Moore of Nottingham, only his 4th cap for England. We'll look around to see what options have opened. That's one of them, Dooley in the middle. Dooley didn't quite get hold of that one. Welsh rummage around, but the whistle's gone from the referee, Mr. Urquet, and it's the Welsh scrum just inside the England half. The two sides tending to toy with each other with these high up and unders in the early exchanges. There's a collapse of the scrum, and the referee will take a very, very close look at that. Naturally enough, the Welsh scrum under a great deal of pressure in the front row. Rather inexperienced at this level, Buchanan and Young especially. This time is a free kick to England. René Urquet having spotted illegalities in the front row. So it's Paul Williams, the outside half, punishing Wales for that indiscretion in the scrum. One really does wonder how much pressure there will be in the scrummages on young David Young, who was snatched from the Western Suburbs Club in Canberra as a very late replacement in the Welsh camp. Phillips with a throw, looking for Norster. Up goes Moriarty, but it's lost ball. Redman trying to do some coverage work for England, lays the ball back, and certainly there's no love lost as England have the ball. Away it goes to Underwood, who's come across to the wing to Webb. This is the pace man. Webb brushing away one tackle, but the movement breaking down midway between the 22 and the halfway line, and an indication there, Gareth Davis, that England are quite prepared to run the ball with extra men coming in from all directions.
That's right, using their strengths really. Rory Underwood and Harrison, two of the finest wings in British rugby, and they certainly used Underwood there from the blind side.
Robert Jones waiting. Jonathan Davis outside his 22, so the kick will have to be a careful one. It looks a good one. Jonathan Davis, splendid kick from the far side, reading the bounce of the ball well. Welsh replacements and reserves. So the line-out throw to come from Brian Moore, the 25-year-old hooker of England from Nottingham. And it's a familiar chant around Ballymore Park. Wales encouraging the red shirts on. And it's a change to see, yes, Wales playing in red shirts actually. Twice they've had to play in green against Tonga and Canada. More throws. Dooley, the towering policeman at the back. And Wales, in their eagerness to go through, infringing at the line-out. Peter Williams, the England outside half. His father played for Cincinnati, as did the father of his opposite number, Jonathan Davis. The line-out on the 10-metre line. 6.5 minutes of this first half gone. No score at Ballymore Park. Richard Moriarty, the Welsh captain. There's the main line-out target, Robert Norster. Phillips lobs that one. It's well taken by Richard Moriarty that time. The drive is on from the red shirt. Collins there giving support on the open side as Wales move over the 10-metre line. England doing well, though, to halt the surge by the Welsh. And referee Rennie Urke deciding that the ball would not come out of there, and so awards the scrum. The Welsh put in just inside the Welsh half. Sunshine conditions at Ballymore Park as Robert Jones puts the ball in. And this one is against their head. Harding to Winterbottom to Dean Richards. Richards is grounded on the 10-metre line. England anxious to get hold of the ball, and a little bit of friction as Buchanan goes through. Rather indisciplined action. And Buchanan is penalised that time. Richie Collins is the man on the ground.
The take against the head there, which Harding used well on the blind side, and Winterbottom feeds back inside to Richards, and that's probably been the strength of the England side during the World Cup. And here we see then Buchanan coming in rather ill-disciplined, and possibly the penalty was against Richie Collins for trying to handle the ball on the ground. But I think we see the strength of the English forwards driving through again, which made the ball available for Harding, but unfortunately Buchanan rather over-vigorously stepped in.
So problems for the Welsh. They've been plagued by injuries since arriving in New Zealand, having sent Billy James back first of all, then the tragic departure of Jeff Whitefoot as well, and of course Stuart Evans.
And rather significant there, Martin, the first strike against the head, so from Wales' point of view that'll obviously be fairly disappointing with two new members in the front row.
Richie Collins, his fourth cap for Wales, and a double international, young basketball international, as well as a senior rugby international. He seems to be okay. That's good news for the Welsh camp. Meanwhile, though, it's Webb, having kicked 40 points for England in this competition, and pointing the ball towards the post, and he's going out from a very hoggy cabbage patch. Webb, he struck it well, but it's a bit short, Warren, just falling to the right of the post, and the ball being marshalled through and shadowed by Paul Thorburn. Jonathan Davis then to restart. Wales really haven't had sufficient possession to launch any kind of attack against the England three-quarters, and this is dangerous play, but this is an opportunity in broken play. Deborah, tapping comes to Ieuan Evans. Ieuan Evans up to the 10-metre line, over the halfway line. He's got the support of Brevin Bowen. Oh, Ieuan Evans doing exceptionally well that time, but what was rather noticeable, Gareth Davis, that Brevin Bowen inside him was struggling to gather pace.
Yes, I think it's quite significant that his hamstring is quite heavily strapped, and it's obviously a disappointing sign for Wales. But they showed a lot of initiative there, whether they moved the quick ball after a mistake.
So coming from Moore and the two-handed catch by Redmond, but the whistle of referee René Urquhart giving England a scrum midway between the English 22 and the halfway line. 10.5 minutes gone of this first half, still no score. Robert Jones, this time a clean heel for Wales. At the 10-metre line to his left. The box kick is meant for Ieuan Evans, but I don't think he read the signal because he certainly didn't charge up on it, and that one going out on the full, so back they come. So certainly a little bit of nervousness, a bit of tenseness as well in the Welsh camp. The signal is not quite being read between scrum half and wing that time. Richard Moriarty jumping at number 2 in the line-out. Brian Moore. So looking for Dooley. Dooley sort of getting a hand to it that time, but it wasn't the cleverest of balls, and Richard Harding won't thank Wade Dooley for that kind of possession. So midway between the 22 and the halfway line, Robert Jones once again. So far the Welsh scrummage, having conceded one, holding up there under a great deal of pressure. You can see the writhing and the wriggling going on. Jonathan Davis. That's a lovely kick up. Webb is underneath it. He's into the sunshine as well. Up go the Welsh three-quarters. But Webb took that extremely well into the sunshine and seems to have been shaken a bit, but that was great play by the young Bristol player, John Webb.
Excellent play by Webb there, but it's quite significant, I think, that Wales have probably looked at this ploy. Webb isn't renowned for his safety under the high ball, and I think that's a prepared tactic by Wales.
Webb gets his kick away after the mark was awarded, and it's a fine kick too, but he may have been hurt in the process. John Devereux going up there extremely fast, and he's a big man, Devereux.
And it was an excellent kick by Jonathan Davis. I think the way he looked at it, he just sat back and looked and admired his kick, and Devereux, I think, did justice to it, and he's obviously caused Webb some problems.
Webb seems to be okay for the moment. But after that kick into touch, it's going to be a line out some 10 metres outside the 22. And Phillips, who had some problems with the line-out signals against Canada, that's all been sorted out with these strenuous training sessions that the Welsh have had since arriving in Australia. That's lobbed. Forster gets up high, but it's England ball. Harding outside to Williams. Salmon is there. As England looks for the second possession, it comes out to Sims, to Webb on the far side. Is touched by a Welsh hand. So England not make the most of that possession. And much credit due to the Welsh cover defence getting across field and blocking the path of the two England centres, Kevin Sims and Jamie Salmon. Line out again on the far side. Ball throws short this time. But the ball goes back on the Welsh side. Dick Moriarty leading on to Buchanan, but a knock on at the crucial stage that time. A little bit of friction between Gary Rees and Paul Moriarty. Nothing serious. Just saying good day to each other. Harding, well known to Welsh supporters, and the wheel of the scrum coming for the Welsh is back to the Welsh side. Jonathan Davis, attempted drop goal. Is it there? It's gone to the right of the post. No excitement from René Urquhart. And we know about the capability of Jonathan Davis with his drop goals. Has scored 3 in this competition so far. So a little bit of pressure for Wales after 14.5 minutes of play. Not the greatest of games so far by any means. John Webb. Dooley goes up high. Buchanan struggles for possession as England puts the drive on. That's David Young. Jonathan Davis. That's a tempting one for Webb to get underneath. Underwood is there giving cover as well. Dean Richards trying to get hold of the ball. And it goes on to the Welsh side. Play on. No offside that time. As Wales drive towards the England line, looking for the possession. And Rene Urquet decides that it's going to be a scrum. And Wales with the forward momentum. Worried, Mr. Green, with Wales pressurising the England try line. And yet another injury. Well, obviously, the last couple of minutes, the best period for Wales, Gareth Davis.
Yes, very much so. And I think Jonathan again, Jonathan Davis with a little neat up and under come chip through the middle of the defence, which caught England unguarded. And excellent work by Gareth Roberts as well, who was quickly onto the ball. It's a feature of some of the other teams that have done well in the competition, the success of their back row. And here we see the ball being taken there by Gareth Roberts, driving forward, looking to stand on his feet, which is obviously very important. And the Welsh forwards driving through as well, so it's nice to see the whole team there as one. But unfortunately, at the end, the ball was knocked forward and results in scrum to England.
Anthony Buchanan receiving the magic sponge and the magic potions of Tudor Jones, and rejoins his colleagues Alan Phillips and David Young in the front row. Wales need to put on a bit of pressure in this scrum to gain anything from it. The advantage, the scrummaging advantage, certainly with England so far in this match. But the whip around coming from the Welsh, making life difficult for Richard Harding. Gets his pass away. And a fine relieving kick into touch, that time from Peter Williams of Orrell and Lancashire. So Alan Phillips with the throw-in. Moving towards 17 minutes of play in this first half. Richie Collins at the back of the line out for Wales. Redmond goes through, tries to clean up for England. The penalty and a little bit of undiscipline by the Welsh. And they'll rue that fact quite possibly, having worked so hard to get up inside the England 22 to give it away. Oh, some confusion in the ranks from Rene Urquet. Oh, certainly we thought he'd decided or watched the Welsh infringement, but he's given the penalty to Wales, so this is quite dramatic, Davis.
Yes, I thought it was rather strange because it was an untidy line-out, but my feelings were that the Welsh were infringed upon, and to see the penalty to England was rather puzzling, but a French interpretation there, I think, which caught us all out.
Well, certainly we'll have to watch the signals of Rene Urquet very carefully. Today, Wales from Linden Cap. And here's Paul Thorburn hoping to put Wales onto the scoreboard. Thorburn with 21 points in the World Cup so far, 95 in total for Wales, moving towards a century. Not a difficult kick. And there's a bit of wind, a bit of crosswind at Ballymore Park. Thorburn, oh, he struck it badly. It's gone to the right of the post. And that will be a worrying feature for Tony Gray and the Welsh management in the stand. That was a relatively simple kick. So still no points after 18 minutes of play. Webb with a restart. It's a short one. Dean Richards goes through for England. Paul Moriarty tries to clean up, so too does Richie Collins, but away come England. It's Dean Richards being fed by Richard Harding on the short side. Gloucester is there for Wales, but it's good clean ball for England. Out it goes to Salmon, Sims. Some good Welsh midfield tackling there, giving England all kinds of problems. There's the Welsh drive down towards the England 22. England do well to hold the tide of Welsh shirts right on the 22. And suddenly it's going to be a scrum, some 10 metres beyond the 22. And certainly looks as if Robert Gloucester is feeling that hamstring injury. He's been on the physio table for some considerable time after the last Welsh match, and indeed was considered doubtful for this quarter-final match. But he's on the field and still on it as Robert Jones, midway between the 22, breaks on the short side. The kick is meant for Ian Evans to chase. It'll go out of the fold, though, and that's possibly a lost opportunity for Wales. Robert Jones. The kick a little bit too strong on that short side. So it's England to go. And their main target men, Dooley, has now moved up in the line-out on this England throw to jump at number 2. Shifting about, certainly. Phillips takes it for Wales. And a penalty to England at the front. With Phillips, the judge, to have been offside, shakes his head in disbelief. Peter Williams again with the left foot. And after that pressure from Wales, England suddenly move into the Welsh half. That was a good period of pressure for Wales, and unfortunately for Paul Thorburn, it didn't result in any points. Certainly deserved 3. But still, no score at Brisbane between Wales and England in this quarter-final match after 20 minutes of play. Phillips throws, going for the middle. Roberts tussles for the ball for Wales. As Robert Jones waits for the feed from his forward. He's got sight of it. Jonathan Davis. And that's a massive kick from Jonathan Davis. Well, once given good ball, we've seen from this man what he's capable of doing, especially against Canada, and that was a clear illustration. Given the ball, he can turn the match around.
And an excellent clearance kick there, Martin, from Jonathan. I think he showed today what he has showed in some recent games as well, possibly more control as he did against Ireland. And I'm sure that's one aspect of his game that he is conscious about. And he has certainly proved that he's capable of doing it during the World Cup.
The man in the walls, of course, is Gareth Roberts. The team talk for England being led there by Peter Winterbottom. And Gareth Roberts and Richie Collins have now received treatment from Tudor Jones. There must be some anxious moments up in the stand because of the 2 forward replacements, really. Kevin Phillips is a hooker, Steve Blackwell props. Hugh Richards is the other replacement forward, and of course he normally plays at lock for Leith. And Wales desperately short of fit back row men and also fit front row forwards. Cut on the nose, was it a bloody nose? Gareth Roberts is coming off the field, but I believe it's only momentarily to save a little bit of treatment and also to tie his boots up. So Wales reduced in the line-out to 7 men. More throws. Dooley gets a hand, tries to clean it up, but it's untidy ball for the English. Salmon comes through there, but a thundering tackle by Jonathan Davis. Ball coming back, though, to Harding. Harding with a half break there. A little bit confusing on that far side as Harrison gets hold of the ball, but the Welsh are there in numbers. Jonathan Davis is on the floor, way to our right. And the penalty has been awarded to England on that far side, and suddenly concern shown about the Welsh outside half.
And that injury, Martin, came after a tremendous tackle, actually, on his opposite number. England seemed quite prepared to run the ball behind. They haven't done it very well as yet, but they obviously got a lot of confidence. As you see how the ball comes back on the England side. The ball is fed out Williams to Salmon, who has a go, and then an excellent tackle there by Johnson. Went low, but obviously been hurt in the process. But here again, we see Winterbottom winning the loose ball, and again, the first instinct is to move it.
So Jonathan Davis sees indeed worrying moments. It's almost like a casualty ward out there, and all of a sudden the rain has appeared at Ballybor Park, the sunshine has certainly disappeared, and everybody running for cover. But that's the sad sight for all Welsh supporters. Jonathan Davis does look the worse for wear. Of course, his replacement up in the sand would be Malcolm Dacey. But one can only hope, after all the injury problems that have been sustained by the Welsh camp, that this young fellow is okay. Tony okay, a little bit anxious about the time being allocated to the injury. And I'm sure that Jonathan Davis has no thoughts of leaving Ballybor Park unless the injury is a very serious one. But it's a penalty to England. We've now had 24 minutes to play, not the greatest of matches. And England gain a touch from the kick by Peter Williams just inside the Welsh half. There are the umbrellas on that far side. It really is a downpour. The wind has certainly picked up. It's a very wintry Australian day. Phillips with the throw. Richards goes through. It's bad ball. Robert Jones under pressure. Gets a neat little chip down along the touchline, and Harrison drops the ball just outside the 10-metre line. So a mistake by the England captain allows Wales to move into the England half once again. And looking at the Welsh three-quarters, limiting up there, two men, Bleddyn Bowen and Jonathan Davies, holding their injuries, but Gareth Roberts is back onto the field and will surely rejoin his colleagues once Robert Jones decides to put the ball in. Roberts is back into the pack. Wales looking for possession. Jones to Davies. The attempted drop goal, but it's not a good one, but it might be a nice, handy kick ahead. Back there goes Webb, and under a bit of pressure from both the Welsh wingers. And I wonder with the two wingers in there whether Jonathan Davies had misread the call, because Hadley had come in as the extra man, and Ieuan Evans was there on hand as well. Could well have been a three-quarter call by the Welsh. So in the middle of the downpour, it's Alan Phillips to throw in. A good attacking position for Wales after 25 minutes. Ball goes to the back to Richie Collins. Collins looking for the support from Gareth Roberts. Moriarty picks up for Wales as they regroup just inside England 22. And it's Roberts trying to make headway down towards the England try line. Still no side of the ball as Robert Jones gets hold of the ball to Jonathan Davies. A little bit of a shimmy, a little bit of a break, and looking for space. Jonathan Davies looking for the support. John Devereux is there as well under Richie Collins. Collins to Buchanan. Buchanan. The ball goes loose about a metre or so from the England try line. Oh, great pressure by the Welshman, and all started, of course, by Jonathan Davies with that little shimmy and a little jink inside, and that caused the England defence all sorts of problems.
And a lovely attack there by Wales, as you said, Martin, instigated by Jonathan Davies. An excellent support by the forwards again. And we saw Buchanan nearly crossing for his first try in his first international. And I'm sure he'd have been delighted if he could have put his hands on that ball.
So no try for Wales, but an injury instead to Paul Rendell.
And here we see Jonathan feinting for the drop goal. Steps in off his left foot and shows again his tremendous pace. And he's just held there by quite a few of the English lads. And here we see John Devereux again using his strength, looking for support, and there we've got Richie Collins with Buchanan outside, nearly crossing for his first try with it. That ball just seems to lose his grasp and bounces off Alan Phillips' head, and the chance is lost away.
So if Anthony Buchanan had held onto that one and crossed, what a night they would have had at Ystwyth Lights Rugby Club. It looks as if Paul Rendell now is the latest injury victim, coming off the field with a cut eye. But this an excellent opportunity for Wales, despite the fact that it's going to be an England put in. Chance to put some pressure. Harding to the field. And Wales putting on a tremendous try. There's a few of the tries been given. The tries been given. Gareth Roberts brings back the ball. He's absolutely thrilled. Well, we all thought that the Welsh scrummaging would be under pressure in this match, but that was excellent scrummaging work. And the try for Gareth Roberts, which puts Wales into the lead 4 points to 0.
And that was excellent work by Wales. Obviously, they knew the English scrimmage was weakened. Here they have the drive on. England tried to wheel it. But obviously the ball does pop out, and Gareth Roberts on hand to score his second try for Wales. And from the other side, we see the drive. England do try to disrupt. The ball shoots out, and Roberts, the ever-present Roberts, is on hand to score.
Corbyn with a conversion, and we could see from that other angle how simple a try that was. That's a better kick from Paul Corbyn. It's an extra 2 points. Wales into the lead 6 points to 0 after 29 minutes of the first half. And still, the rain beats down at Ballymore Park, but that would be of no concern to the Welsh, but of some concern to the English camp is the injury to Paul Rendell. Just at the vital moment, Chilcott warming up. And it must be said, in fairness to the English camp, that scrummaging try was scored when they were minus Paul Rendell. Gareth Chilcott of Bath, prepared to come on. And he too has Welsh connections. Webb to restart for England. Chilcott coming on. And, of course, he played against Wales at Cardiff. Moriarty underneath the high ball. That was a dangerous charge into the back, but it's allowed to go on Moriarty. Harding waiting for the delivery. Williams, the high kick. That's meant for Thorburn or anybody else who wants the call in the Welsh defence. Thorburn takes it well. Calls to the mark, and it's given him. Two excellent catches, one by John Webb under the high ball, one by Paul Thorburn, the full-back having a good day. Thorburn with the trusted right boot takes play to 10 metres outside the 22. So it'll be Brian Moore of Nottingham to throw in. Half an hour gone of this first half. Wales in the lead, 6-0. Moore with the throw. Dooley two-handed. Richards back to Moore, but it was a little bit too quick, and slight niggle between a couple of the factions. And with the referee, René Urquet, telling the fellows to go in 15 metres. And suddenly, it's a better day at Ballymore Park. The rain has now ceased, despite the fact that the umbrellas are up on the far side and maybe fine drizzle. Robert Jones, Jonathan Davies, got away from Harding. Davies spotted a bit of daylight and greenery in the middle of the park. Webb, that's a bit of a misunderstanding between Webb and Harrison, and the ball is loose. It's picked up by Richard Collins. Collins with the feed on to Gareth Roberts. The back row in concert for Wales. The Wales still hunting for this ball to Jonathan Davies on the short side. Brendan Bowen with a half dummy that time. Well tackled by Harding. The ball comes loose for Jonathan Davies. But that was good Welsh play, but all due to some misunderstanding of the England defence. But my word, the back row were there very quickly, Gareth Davies.
Excellent work again. I think Gareth Roberts has probably been the outstanding Welsh player this afternoon so far, and his presence there again created all sorts of problems for him.
Harding with the feed, but not to the satisfaction of the French referee. And no love lost either between Robert Jones and Richard Harding. Jones not willing to give an inch as he stands almost contemptuous of the presence of the Bristol scrum half. The kick, the left-footed kick from Peter Williams. And you may have felt quite nudged by Gareth Roberts that time, hence the hilarity. The open side flanker from Cardiff just showing the Oddle outside half that he was there at his shoulder. Alan Phillips, 17 caps for Wales today. Goes to the middle of the line out. This time it's a penalty to England at the back. A little barging, a little bit of infringing. A moment for this young fellow from Abraman originally. The kick from Peter Williams punishes the Welsh by some 16-17 metres. Wales calling for the shortened line this time. Four men into the line, and it's quickly taken to Richie Collins. Collins sets it up on the halfway line. Up it comes to David Young. Young on the charge. Robert Jones saw the oncoming Gary Rees and tried to go just inside the Nottingham flanker, but away comes England. Harding on the short side. He's got Underwood outside. Underwood fails to get hold of the ball, but it comes back to Harding. And a little bit of a forward pass that time. So down go the Welsh, midway between the 22 and the halfway line. Robert Jones with the feed. There's a surge from the England scrum. Neat little pass from Robert Jones. Out it goes to Deborah. Doesn't decide to have a stab at it. Out to Adrian Hadley. Hadley up against Harrison. Hadley trying to get away. Up to Deborah. Deborah came through on the halfway line. The chip ahead by John Deborah. It's a chase to the corner. Underwood is back there for England. Deborah is there too, but Underwood just about gets there. Superb support play by the Welsh on that far side, and full credit for John Deborah for that attempt.
And we see, yes, the ball was just over the line, so quite a correct decision by Hookey.
So the dropout from the 22. And Certainly there seems to be a little bit more spirit in this Welsh performance in the last 10 minutes. And England, having won the territorial advantage in the first 5 or 10 minutes, now having to concede to the Welsh. And Wales in the lead 6 points to nil after 35 minutes of play in this first half. Phillips to throw, 8 meters outside the 22. And a difficult day for both hookers. Slippery ball, slippery conditions, but that time he goes for the back trying to find Paul Moriarty, but it's scrappy ball, goes back to the England side. Williams being chased there and harassed by Paul Moriarty. And there's no lack of effort by the Welsh, either in the trees or in the back row. And we've seen a couple of surging runs too from Buchanan and David Young. The limited line out. Richie Collins joining. The last time Alan Phillips confronted by this limited line out, he threw straight at Collins. But this time it goes for Richard Moriarty, but it goes back to the England side. Lost ball. Harding to Williams. Williams on to Winterbottom to Rees as they set it up. The hooker Moore is in the movement as well. Salmon on the far side to Sims. Sims to Webb. Webb to Harrison. And that's the second time of asking that Harrison has dropped the vital pass. They're not having the best of afternoons as Mike Harrison of Wakefield. But certainly England intent on stretching that Welsh defence. There were a couple of gaps there. It certainly looked like a dangerous move, and Harrison might have made more capital out of it.
Yes, the handling and passing behind amongst the England backs has been rather disappointing. I think they've had a good outlook on it, and they have looked to move the ball. And you will see Redmond linking with his backs. Salmon again looks for the gap there, but a well-timed pass to Sims, who again gives Harrison the opportunity on the outside via John Webb. There we see Harrison again with a nice pass out in front, obviously looking at the man, and the ball goes down. So rather a lot of disappointment, I thought, for the England captain.
Well, there's another worrying sight for the Welsh camp. Robert Norster receiving treatment for that hamstring injury. And it's widely believed that he's carried something of a hamstring injury right throughout the season. But the magic spray from Tudor Jones seems to have done the job, albeit temporarily, as Wales go down for a scrum. Some 6 or 7 meters in from the far touch line. It's whipped around. Difficult light for scrum halves whenever that happens. The pick-up eventually by Wales as they try to get hold of the possession and try to get it back somehow or other. And all kinds of infringements going on there. Rather untidy ball, but eventually it results in a penalty to Wales. Thorburn. That's a mighty long kick from Paul Thorburn. Once again, Harris not having the best of afternoons, dropping that one as well, but it may have gone, just trickled into touch anyway. Quite an inspiring captain, this fellow. Having taken over the captaincy, his first loss was against Australia in the opening match of the World Cup. Wales have it. Robert Jones. Jonathan Davis. That's the problem once again for Harrison. Took it well this time though. Outside is the in-goal area and into touch.
And Jonathan Davis doesn't seem to be very happy, Martin. I'm not sure if it was the effect of the kick wasn't that's good, but he does seem to be limping and is not looking his bubbly, effervescent self.
So Richie Collins carrying an injury, Gareth Roberts, Rob Forster, Brendan Bowen and Jonathan Davis. It's the lengthy casualty list. Phillips with a throw. Collins takes well. Moriarty, superb pass out. Brendan Bowen couldn't quite get his hands to that one. And the ball comes back on the England side, but salvaged by Wales, but no advantage. So it's a scrum to England just outside the England 22. Now had 39 minutes of play in this first half. Wales just hanging on to that 6 points to nil lead. Try is scored by Roberts, Gareth Roberts, and converted by Paul Thorburn. Richards with the control. Harding waits. Pass back to Webb. And that's a huge spiraling kick from Webb. The Thorburn underneath it. It hasn't reached touch. But it's a penalty kick to England. Referee René Urquet spotted an infringement. Offside was the decision. And so another opportunity for Paul Williams. Left-footed. But doesn't find touch. Back he comes to Thorburn. Thorburn. The best of spiraling kicks, but it's a very effective one. And returned with some interest. A limited line-out called by England. Ball with a throw. Dooley goes up high, goes back to the Welsh side though, falls comfortably for Robert Jones. Jonathan Davis, the grubber kick. Back there though is Webb, the full-back. Read that one well, positioned himself perfectly. Webb on the run. This is what England expects of their new full-back. Go over the advantage line and give the oncoming forward something to grasp onto. So this game, not a classic by any stretch of the imagination. Robert Jones, 10 metres inside the England half. Jones with a feed. Davis, they miss out a man, Devereux on the far side. Thorburn tries to break a tackle, but suddenly robbed of the ball. The ball goes loose on the far side and into touch. Line out on the far side, and it'll be more to throw. Now well into injury time, a minute and a half into injury time. It's England 0, Wales 6. Harding waits for the delivery from the forwards. A great deal of work and energy being spent in that direction. Dean Richards leading the England charge. Back it comes to Harding. That's a nice little kick from Harding. Thorburn rushing across, positioning himself well, takes the ball well, gets his kick away, but it's not a clever one because it's straight to Webb. Webb on the counter-attack to Rory Underwood. Underwood up against Guyan Evans. Evans takes his man this time and does well. Underwood going inside his man. Evans was there, and indeed there were a couple of other potential Welsh tacklers as well.
And the Welsh defence this afternoon, Martin, has been tremendous. I think Devereux has been a great influence during the World Cup series. I think his influence is obviously coming through in the defensive side of the game.
The ball on the 10-metre line. Throws the ball. It wasn't quite straight, that one. And so in they go, 15 metres for a scrum. And full credit, Gareth Davis, to this young, not so young really, but inexperienced front row. They've held up well so far.
They've done a tremendous job. I feel the English scrum is probably becoming a little bit stronger. It's very ironical. I think we feel that Wales are 6 points ahead, and the try resulting from a scrum on the England line.
Referee René Urquet pointing exactly as to where he wants the scrum to take place. Robert Jones, but that's the second one. After complimenting the Welsh scrum, away come England. Winterbottom on the charge on the short side. Underwood is there. Harding whips it back, to try to whip it back. Chilcott, the bar stop forward. Cleans up for England. Up Williams on the break. He's got the support. Winterbottom is there. The ever-present back row forward for England. Harding does well. This is good England play. The kick is from Salmon on the far side. The left foot. Hadley goes back for Wales. Taps the ball into touch, or rather flacks it into touch, making absolutely no mistake with it. But good England play. And that's the best concentration of England forward play that we've seen in this first half.
As I was saying, Martin, they did manage to pinch that. I do feel possibly England are beginning to become a little bit stronger than Wales in the scrimmages.
The shortened line out, deep inside the Welsh tries to. More throws. Dooley tries to go through on the ball. There's a bit of blocking there. It's allowed. But the referee, René Urquet, on the infringement, and it'll be a scrum. Dangerously close to the Welsh try line. Two hookers, Moore and Phillips, rejoining their colleagues. 4 minutes of injury time played in this first half. Urquet not quite satisfied as to the location of the scrum. Robert Jones, getting the Welsh alignment absolutely right. 2 against the head already, and it's a free kick to England. Robert Jones that time being accused of not putting the ball in straight, turning the ball on the put-in. England had it. Williams, oh, that's just about the most undignified of drop goals that we've seen in this World Cup competition. A start that is from the penalty attempt by Hugo Porsche in one of the earlier games. It really was a grass cutter. Jonathan Davis to restart. England putting a fair amount of pressure on the Welsh in injury time at the end of this first half. Davis has dropped out. Dean Richards is underneath it for England. And another penalty. And the Welsh have been accused quite justifiably of being a little bit indisciplined. Certainly the penalty count against Canada was very, very embarrassing. And it's turning out to be that way against the English as well. John Webb will attempt this one. It's a bit of a difficult kick because he's got the support of this crossfield wind, which will turn the ball into the post. But it's a distance of some 38 meters. So Webb, nothing to show so far on the scoreboard. 40 points for England. His 4th cap for his country. John Webb taking a fair amount of time as he approaches the ball, strikes it, but that he's got just underneath the ball and it's gone to the right. And Brendan Bowen, that time rather shocking. Well, Brendan Bowen a little bit fortunate at the end of this in the lead.
6 points to 0 at the beginning of the second half.
The ball straight to Harding. Harding back it goes to the Bristol fullback John Webb. Adrian Hadley certainly went through an alarming pace on John Webb that time. Must have seen a red flash going past him, John Webb, as he got the ball safely into touch. Alan Phillips on the 10-meter line. And the limited line-out. Collins at the front, post in the middle, the 2 Moriartys at the back. This for Robert Jones, this for Buchanan on the charge. A good charge to Alan Phillips, slightly forward that one. So down they go for a scrum. 10 meters in from the near side touchline. Kenneth Chilcott, the replacement for Paul Wendell, joins the England front row of Pearce and Moore. Harding on the short side, it's meant for Harrison to chase. Gone out on the full, a bit of a wasted kick that one by Richard Harding of Bristol. And Anna Phillips with Wales this time keeping to an orthodox line out. Right on the 10-meter line. Line out signal from Richard Moriarty jumping at 2 for Alan Phillips. This one goes straight to the back. Collins as well to get up there against the height of this rather tall England back row, but England have this one. Harding to Webb. Harrison having a charge. Cuts back inside Adrian Hadley. But England set it up on the 10-meter line. Harding to his Bristol colleague Webb. Well, it's a kick going just about anywhere, but Paul Thorburn is underneath it on the 22. The switch has declined to Ian Evans. The kick by Thorburn, he's still going. The cover kick, ball goes loose. Williams tries to pick the ball up on that far side.
And it's a pity there, Martin. I think that Thorburn didn't possibly use Ian Evans coming over from the blind side. Obviously, with his extra pace, he may have been able to create something.
The put in by Robert Jones. A steadier scrum by the Welsh. They seem to be settling down a little bit, having given 2 against their head. Oh, Robert Jones, neatly done as he goes over the gain line and gives a target for the oncoming forwards. This is Jonathan Davis. Harrison going back for it for England. Up against Hadley. Harrison and Hadley. Harrison is away from Hadley. Thorburn, the fly hack from Sims. And then another fly hack from Paul Thorburn. A little bit scrappy to say. Jonathan Davis, the Welsh halfback. Davis is going to have a run this time. And the referee, Rennie Urke, has given England the penalty. Maybe it was offside the original infringement. They allow the advantage to go. Rene O'Kane, marking the exact spot. And up comes John Webb to take the kick. And a little bit of untidiness in the play at the beginning of the second half. So Webb just inside the Welsh half. And that's a good kick by Webb, right into the corner. Robert Jones does remarkably well to take it up towards the 22-metre line, and that's a superb delivery from Robert Jones. Oh, that was class play.
Excellent play by Robert Jones there. The way he took the ball initially, plus that spiralling kick, which has obviously pushed England back to halfway, could have quite a psychological effect on the game.
So back to the halfway line. And it'll be Brian Moore to throw for England. Rene O'Kane asking for some separation, a bit of daylight between the two sets of forwards. Moriarty. And England certainly rummaging around there and putting pressure on the Welsh, but Wales have it. Jonathan Davies, the switch through to Brendan Bowen. The legs seem to be okay to Richard Collins over the halfway line. He's got John Devereux outside if he finds him. The delivery, the chip ahead by Robert Jones. Robert Jones up against Harding. Harding and Robert Jones. Robert Jones got the kick there. Robert Jones has got a dramatic try for Wales. After 5 minutes of play, that was sheer opportunism for the young scrum half. That's his first World Cup try, and they don't come any better than that.
Tremendous work there by the Welsh. We saw that Robert Jones running through. He managed to get the... No, here we have early stage. Richie Collins again, ever present, supporting Brendan Bowen, and cut through after a switch move. Looking for support, but he hasn't got anybody on his shoulder. Excellent tackle there by fullback Webb, but he's got the ability to make that ball available, and Robert Jones sensibly kicks it through, not wanting to risk his hands, and he's got the pace to beat Harding for the touchdown.
And the conversion is, no indeed, it's been declined, gone to the left of the post. So Wales will have to be satisfied with that try from Robert Jones. What a try it was. What great effort between two scrum halves, Harding and Robert Jones. It really is a 22, 25, 30-metre split where the ball eventually landed, and Jones just by a fingernail, I think, got the touchdown. Great joy then for the Welsh camp as Webb restarts. The ball comes to Moriarty, back to Jonathan Davies. Neatly around the kick into touch, but that's not going to find its mark. Webb takes it on the halfway line. The high up and under. Thorburn calls for the mark, and it's given. So Wales in the lead, 10 points to 0. And Tony Gray doesn't look at all pleased. Possibly very worried about what may come in the latter stages of this game. The kick is a good one, quickly taken by England. Richards is there, and the support coming that time from Gary Pearce. Down they'll go for the scrum, just inside the Welsh half. Wales 10 points to 0 in the lead. 2 tries scored, and that, of course, is important. The tries are scored because when the eventual counting up is made, should it be a draw game, they become rather crucial. But this is a penalty for England. Peter Williams, left-footed. That's a good kick by Williams, just over the 22-metre line. Peter Williams, the young man who has a Welsh father, 28-year-old outside half. So Wales beginning to shade lines out. And much credit must be given to this man, Alan Phillips, for the accuracy of his throwing in. Referee Rene O'Kane confusing just about everybody at Moore Park by calling first for the line-out and then awarding the scrum. Harding with a put-in on the 22-metre line. Gets the ball away to Williams, along to Sims. Sims, Underwood has come in as the extra man, but the Welsh tackling is there. Devereux, as a vanguard of the Welsh defence, absolutely superb, taking one, possibly 2 men at the same time. But England drive forward, and it's still John Devereux there in the middle. What a superb defensive player he is. He's not a bad attacking player either. So, a set scrum. just outside the Welsh 22. Harding with a feed. And the collapse of the scrum, René Urquet having a good look to see exactly what went wrong with that scrum. And having a word with Gary Pearce. Well, a lecture to the most experienced English prop, winning his 34th cap. The record over from Franny Cotton. England have it on the short side, Harding. The fly hack is from Adrian Hadley. Back there goes Peter Williams. Hadley is through on his man. The fly hack from Jonathan Davis. Out of cross comes Kevin Sims for England. And the bodies on the floor. Once again, Peter Williams. And a penalty to Wales. And that against Harding for not releasing the ball after the tackle.
You see John Webb covering back, but Hadley comes through with his tremendous pace and his physical power to actually flatten John Webb, who obviously doesn't release the ball.
Jonathan Davis just on the halfway line and asking for René Urquet to get out of the way. He wants a good sight of the touchline. Right-footed. So Jonathan Davis with that good kick and takes the pressure back down onto England's try line. Still carrying a bit of an injury is Jonathan Davis. Moore with a throw. Pressure on England. Ball coming back on the Welsh side. Richard Moriarty doing the cleaning up, but referee René Urquet not quite satisfied. Awards a scrum 15 metres in, but it's some 6 or 7 metres, probably 8 really, from the England try line. Robert Jones, quick, channel 1. Moriarty, Robert Jones. But the England cover was there that time with Harrison coming over and Gary Rees. A good English defence as Moore prepares to throw the ball in once again. 10.5 minutes gone in this second half. Norther gets up high, so too does Redman. And again, a line-out infringement against the Welsh, a bit of barging at the front. And so it'll be Webb to come up to take the kick. So England have lived with that pressure, and the fine kick came off the outside of the boot, but Wales take it quickly. Moriarty, back it goes to Robert Jones. Wales under a bit of pressure. Brevin Bowen with a high. Gary Owen, he'll have to chase it. Dean Richards is underneath it. Bowen goes in as the ball becomes available for England on the 10-metre line. Harding has a good look to see where the Welsh cover is, gives it to Rees. Rees charging through. Norther takes hold of him. And England put on a forward drive on the short side. Winterbottom, he's got Harrison outside. But Winterbottom couldn't get the ball away, but he does eventually to Dean Richards. Harrison up against Hadley again. And suddenly an opportunity of a interception that time. And it's a penalty to... Or is it a penalty to England or to Wales? Penalty to England, despite the fact that Peter Winterbottom disagreed with it. He wanted the ball being played, the advantage to be played.
I think it's a very important or critical stage now for the Welsh. England seem to have just got back into the game slightly, and I know we're 10 points ahead, but I think these next couple of minutes could be very, very crucial indeed. Just noticing, you see the quick line out, which I think Wales should have been a little bit more disciplined there. They should have looked to steady it. So we've taken a quick line out, which has shown a lot of confidence. But I think at this stage in the game, perhaps we should have settled down and made sure that we win that line-out ball. I noticed earlier on with the England back rows looking to break in between midfield, there was a little bit more room than there has been previously. And I just hope that we do stick to our guns now, and that we are playing a tight game.
The man injured, that's Rob Andrew warming up. Should Peter Williams not be able to take any further part in this game. And, certainly Peter Williams receiving a fair amount of attention. Referee René Urquet is satisfied with the time taken up. Certainly a feature of these World Cup games so far has been the amount of time added on to the first and second halves. On a rare occasion, we've had 12 minutes added on in one match. Webb with a kick for England. A spiralling one, doesn't reach touch. been too happy with his touch finding so far, has Webb, especially during this second half, and the return kick is a good one from Robert Jones. Takes the pressure off his forwards. Certainly Robert Jones playing one of his superb games for Wales, but Dooley takes this one rather easily from the line-out. The ball goes back to Harding, up to Winterbottom. Winterbottom charging against the Welsh cover. Collins is there, takes his man to ground as Harding goes on the short side. Looks for his captain Harrison in no man's land really, but across field, and he's got the thought if he finds it. Goes between the Welsh cover that time. A little bit of indiscipline by the England attack, because Harding, Harrison the captain rather, had about 5 or 6 men just lining up for the ball there, and certainly took the wrong option that time.
Yes, there was a chance there for them to move the ball. He created the space, and then he should have just released it for his back.
Robert Jones with the put-in, some 3 metres outside the Welsh 22. Now had 40 minutes of play in the second half. Wales still in the lead, 10 points to 0. Jonathan Davis. Webb coming over. Webb covering, and the grubber kick off the left foot into touch. He knew that he was outside his 22 that time, and had to go for the grubber. So Wales down in the England half once again. Phillips with the line-out calls. The response from Moriarty and Robert Norster. Norster goes up. Certainly seemed to be impeded at that time. And indeed, it was spotted by referee René O'Kay, but he's awarded the scrum instead of the penalty. Right on the 10-metre line. Harding. That's a better drive from the Welsh scrum. Getting on top of their game a little bit, having conceded 2 against the head, but this is Dean Richards up against Paul Moriarty. Moriarty takes his man to the ground as England wait for possession. Harding. Out it comes to Harrison. Harrison with a nice little kick straight to Robert Jones. And that was excellent positioning by Robert Jones in the cover position as a scrum half, just coming across, reading the England captain's movements well on that short side. Ball to throw in, and suddenly the game lost a little bit of its tempo as Wales go rushing through. Referee René O'Kay awarding a scrum 15 metres in from the near touchline, just in the England half. The control from Paul Moriarty, Robert Jones, Jonathan Davis. Well, that's gone way, way high in the Brisbane air. Anybody underneath it? Moriarty. Well, it's a penalty, offside against Wales. And really an opportunity lost there. One kind of thought that Jonathan Davis would go for the corners just to take Wales into the 22. Peter Williams asking for the exact spot. And left-footed kick into touch. So England back now inside the Welsh half. A bit of a ding-dong struggle this between the two 22s.
As I said half-time, Martin, I think, even though England possibly are beginning to get the upper hand, they don't seem to have much imagination behind Harding. Seems to use the blind side all the time. There's no real penetration there.
Phillips. That was meant for Moriarty, but came back to Harding. A bit of a wild one from the Bristol scrum half. The knock-on that time by Richie Collins, but the advantage is being played. Harrison with a kick for Paul Thorburn. Well, that one by a whisker, and the problem area this for the Welsh, but it's quickly taken. Back it comes to Adrian Hadley, but to no avail, because they'll have to go back for the original line-out. And it'll be a scrum 15 metres in from the far touchline, and this certainly a problem area for Wales. We'll have a quick chat with Gareth Harris about that decision afterwards. Oh, a strange one. Harding, the snap drive to come from England, the control from Dean Richards. And England hoping to catch Wales offside, or at least collapse the scrum. It's Harding, the long, gargantuan pass out to Webb. Webb going for the line, back inside. The fly hack is there, it's still available, but eventually goes over the touchline. So those are dangerous times for Wales, but I think young Harding at scrum half possibly lost that opportunity with men outside him.
The other interesting thing there, the fact that the scrum had gone down, and ideally the referee should have really asked for the scrummage to be taken again. But again, the incident that led to that, I think was rather harsh on the Welsh team.
The defensive put in for Robert Jones. The two props and all kinds of problems there at the front, but Robert Jones has sight of the ball. Back it comes to the young Swansea scrum half. Does well with the left foot. His defensive kicking has been immaculate. There he is, urging his men on.
And all credit to the Welsh scrum there. It was a very, very solid platform for Robert Jones to be able to clear his line.
Now an injury to the experienced man on the front row, Alan Phillips, who seems to be okay. Moore with the throw. The limited line out for England. Harding, Moriarty going through. Redmond tries to clean up. A bit of friction between Redmond and Moriarty, nothing serious. And one must say, yes, indeed, a bit of a headache for Martin Green, the England coach. And the possession that England has had, they've tended to squander, mainly at halfback. Okay, not satisfied with the put-in. Now, we are now midway into the second half. Wales still in the lead, 10 points to 0. And yet another penalty. That's 12 against Wales. And Robert Jones disputing that particular penalty. So what's the decision of Mike Harrison? With a confusion in the England ranks. Here they go, it's going to be an up and under. Harding, and it's a terrible up and under. It's gone behind his oncoming forward. Well, really an opportunity wasted, and one must say, Gareth Davis, that Harding is not having the best of games.
No, that's why his play has really gone from bad to worse in the last 10 minutes. We've seen his play deteriorate quite badly.
So Wales waiting for the possession, a little bit of indiscipline that time. Jonathan Davis, the knock on, the pick up by Robert Jones, but the whistle has gone from referee René Urquhart, and Wales will do well to keep their concentration level at its highest peak. Mistakes like that might allow the English to come back into this game. They're quite capable of doing it with their excellent wings, Harrison and Underwood. This time it's a penalty against Harding. No, indeed, a penalty to England. Harding goes away on that far side to Rory Underwood. Back inside it comes to Jonathan Davis eventually. Certainly the signals of René Urquhart are very, very confusing indeed. He pointed towards England to say that they were being penalised and then awarded them the penalty. This a dangerous time for Wales. Welsh try line under siege. Moore with a throw. Up they go, but the ball is taken by Gareth Roberts. As Wales drive through, trying to get the platform possession for Robert Jones to clear. As the young Swansea scrum half waits, tries to catch England offside. Back it goes to the deep outside half, Jonathan Davis. The kick to touch, doesn't find its mark. Comes to Underwood, nearly dropped it. Underwood again. Looking for work is Leicester wing. Sims, but the England play terrible as Hadley fly hacks through. Webb is back there. Gets up neatly. Superb play by the Bristol full-back. He's still away. But runs back into a host of Welsh shirts as Wales drive on the halfway line, looking for this possession. And suddenly it's a whistle, and suddenly yet again a penalty against Wales. That's the 13th, I believe, that they've conceded. So up comes Peter Williams, rather, the outside half. Left-footed in the touch, safely, not a great distance, but an effective kick. Wales still holding on to this 10-point-0 lead after 23 minutes of play in the second half. A limited line-out. Phillips having a look to see where the Cardiff man is, but now Wales tending to go away from Robert Forster since he's carrying that injury in the line-out. This is Redmond, the 22-year-old man from Bath, on the charge. And a great ironic cheer goes around Ballymore Park. Wales have got a penalty. Thorburn. Offside was the decision as Thorburn spirals one down past the trees at Ballymore Park, down towards the England half, and it'll be a line out a couple of metres inside England's territory. But Wade comes for England, quickly taken. Salmon to Sims. Sims, the little chip ahead is meant for Harrison. Harrison, if he gets the bounce, this could be dangerous. Jonathan Davis is back there for Wales. Tackled and was without the ball that time. And the penalty to Wales. Jonathan Davis, none too pleased the attention that he got from Mike Harrison.
And you will see Harrison putting pressure on the Welsh defence, and Jonathan Davis covering back as he always tends to do, picks up the ball excellently, and then Harrison, as you can see, it's in very high there, and the correct decision by Rennie Hookay.
Another penalty to Wales. Thorburn slice that one a little. Harrison to Webb. Webb with a dreadful forward pass in midfield, and England lapsing in concentration, the heads going down, and not only on the field but also in the stand. Some woeful errors being made, despite the fact that they've gained plentiful possession. But on that far side we have Jim Fleming, the Scots referee, with his flag up, and of course the touch judges can only come where they're spotted illegal or rough play. So the decision will be explained to both captains in impeccable French, I have no doubt. Again,
I think it was a case, Martin, that England took the quick throw in, which obviously wasn't on the right spot, so now Wales presumably have got the option of putting the ball into the scrum.
And Wales taking their time of taking up that option, but it's going to be a scrum 15 metres in on the far touchline. Robert Jones not satisfied with the positioning of Gary Pearce's feet. Back it goes on the Welsh side. A pick up by Moriarty. Doesn't find much room there. England's cover there. England has the ball. And it comes to Sims, to Harrison, the captain. Harrison up against Adrian Hadley again. Hadley gets hold of his man. Back inside it comes. The Welsh cover is there. The ball still available. Jonathan Davis thinking about a fly hack. Well, Hadley getting his man that time.
I'd have thought that Martin Wales would be quite happy to see England move the ball, because they don't seem to be making any headway at all.
Robert Jones, the drive coming from the Welsh. Jonathan Davis. That's a better kick from Jonathan Davis. That's going to stretch Webb ball across field. Ian Evans going up very quickly on the England full back. This is Rory Underwood. Nice little bit of interplay between Webb and Underwood on that far side, but it comes to nothing, and that's been the story of England. They've really tried to stretch this Welsh defence, but haven't been able to find the holes.
And again, we saw there the excellent defensive work. I know we've been on about it all afternoon, the excellent defence work of John Devereux.
Wales go rushing through. Dean Richards does well for England, though, to recover. Wales waiting for the possession. It is not going to come out of there, says Rennie Hookay. And so they go down for another scrum, 15 metres in from the far touchline. The prize for winning this particular match, I don't have to remind you, is a feast against the All Blacks. Robert Jones, the box kick is meant for Ian Evans to chase. Underwood is back there. And Underwood dropping the ball at the vital moment, right in the corner. So everything's just about going right for Wales at this moment, and everything going wrong for England. But there are still some 13 minutes of actual time left, with time added on for injury, and there's not a great deal in it. England could well break out. Phillips with a throw to the back. It's taken by Moriarty. Wales looking for the clean possession. It's Gareth Roberts trying to worm his way through. There's a splash of water, shows you the damp conditions that these players have been experiencing throughout the afternoon. That's a rather quizzical decision from Rennie Hookay. See anything wrong with that? As Harding waits, trying to catch The Welsh cover offside. There's the attempted breakout. Comes straight to Adrian Hadley. A superb pick-up by Hadley. But a penalty to England once again. And pointing to the Welsh defender, offender rather. Rather strange decisions from René Urquet this afternoon. That's a fine kick, which takes play to 6 or 7 metres of the halfway line. Wales still in the lead. The 2 tries scored by Robert Jones and Gareth Roberts, one converted by Paul Thorburn. Alan Phillips having quite difficulty getting the signal. Went for Moriarty, but Richards takes it. A bit of misunderstanding that time, and Phillips may well have misread the call. Wales having to do a bit of defensive work just inside their own half. And a penalty once again. Hands in the loose. Well, certainly that type of collapse onto the field does not happen very often when the All Blacks play. They tend to stay up on their feet. And what we've really seen this afternoon is a classic competition between 2 Northern Hemisphere countries. To all be different against the All Blacks should Wales or England get through.
Yeah, the worrying thing, Martin, if Wales do get through, is the number of penalties we conceded this afternoon. And when you consider the capability of Grant Fox, a player for New Zealand, he obviously could punish Wales quite severely if we do get through.
Alan Phillips waiting this time, doing the absolute right call, but again a single possession from the line out. Toss it comes to Sims. Sims, is that a penalty? Well, it might well have been given that one for an intentional knock-on, but it's Redmond leading the England charge just outside the Welsh 22. Wales searching for the ball, but he won't come out of there because the whistle's gone from René Urquet, and he awards the scrum. Rather subdued at Ballymore Park. We've really not had the kind of excitement that have been generated by some of the games in this World Cup competition. It tended to be a rather dour event, albeit determined. On the far side, it's Underwood. Underwood up against Ian Evans. The Netty man gets the Leicester man. So good defensive work by Ian Evans. The hold of the English fire. Yet another injury.
And great work there by Ian Evans, because Underwood was really travelling at speed, and he had quite a substantial amount of room outside Ian Evans, but the Snetty right winger did very, very well to hold him, and obviously Underwood has conceded the penalty. Here we see England with Richards picking up and giving to Harding, and we see Underwood with 15 yards to try and go outside Ian Evans, but excellent defensive work by him. But I can't really understand why the penalty was given.
Unfortunately, that's been a feature of the refereeing at Ballymore Park. Some of the decisions have been quizzical, to say the least.
And I think also the feature, Martin, is the defensive work of the Welsh. England have probably won or dominated possession this afternoon, certainly in line-out and certainly loose play. But excellent defensive work, allied to some poor decision-making by the England backs, especially the half-backs.
Thorburn with a kick. And that's safely, neatly into touch on that far side, midway between the 22 and the halfway line. 32 minutes of play. Wales 10, England 0. Ball comes back to Robert Jones, to Jonathan Davies. Are we going to see the Welsh three-quarters in flight? This is John Devereux. Devereux to Hadley up against Harrison. Hadley with a kick down towards Webb. He's taken by Paul Moriarty. The Swansea man tries to turn the Bristol man around, but England have it. It's Harrison with a scrum half pass. Out it goes to Sims on the far side, to Jamie Salmon, to Underwood. Underwood up against Ian Evans once again. And Underwood is away from Ian Evans. Underwood on the far side, back inside to the younger winger, Harrison. Harrison is half tackle just inside the Welsh 22. Good play by the England wings, and it's a penalty to England. The high tackle had been registered by René Urquet. But certainly Underwood getting away from Ian Evans that time and causing all kinds of problems in the Welsh defence.
And that has certainly livened things up here at Ballymore. Here we see Underwood having broken away from Ian Evans, looks inside for the support, and I think it's Mike Harrison coming into the play shortly. rather dangerous tackle there by Dick Moriarty, which has resulted in the England penalty. But it's only 8 minutes to go. I think we've got to still realise, or the Welsh team have got to realise, that there are dangerous players in the England team, provided they can be used properly.
Well, away to our right, we can see Robert Morster leaving the field with the Welsh physiotherapist. There they are. Robert Morster doesn't look as if he's going to see this game through. And so the Welsh replacement, Hugh Richards. Great moment for him. Hugh Richards of Meath coming on, but play going on the far side as England go rummaging through, looking for the possession, but denied possession as we still await for Wales to field a full complement of players on this field. And the delay actually is because Robert Morster is having a word with the Australian medical doctor. He has to be passed unfit. There's the signal, which means that Hugh Richards, once he's noticed by René Urquet, will be allowed to take off to the field. Harding. The mismove up to Webb. Well marshalled that time by Paul Corbin and John Devereux. So back he comes on the England side. Harrison. And he more or less drove into Alan Phillips. I think it was that time. And that, again, no, indeed, it was Anthony Buchanan. He drove into the man from Western Gillite, and that was seen to be a dangerous tackle.
That seemed quite a solid tackle there from Buchanan. I think reflected in the anger that Robert Jones showed. A fine tackle as far as I was concerned, and it's nice really this afternoon to see some of the forwards tackling. And here we see Harrison trying to break infield. He's got a little bit of room to move, but there we see Buchanan hitting him with the shoulder, which is I think a legal tackle. As I was saying, it's nice to see the forwards getting about and tackling and running. We've seen Buchanan and David Young in their first games having the ball in their hands and having the confidence to do something with it.
Hugh Richards of Meath is on, but certainly the decision of that tackle somewhat controversial. It looked a fair shoulder charge, but Mike Harrison, the England wing, certainly felt the weight of the Llanelli prop, Anthony Buchanan. Smelling salt, bringing him around.
As you said, Martin, I think he did feel the effect of it, but at the end of the day, it was a fair challenge, very hard challenge, but a fair one.
And of course, an excellent opportunity with 4 minutes to go for John Webb to get England onto the scoreboard. Not a difficult kick, as we saw in the first half. Paul Corbin missed one from a similar distance. And of course, at this vital stage of the competition, there is no such thing as an easy kick. Nothing to show so far. Jonathan Webb, 23 metres. It's more or less a direct shot in front of the post. Webb safely there. England are on to the scoreboard, and we approach the 36 minutes of this second half. 10 points to 3, and really everything to play for. But it must be said that the tempo of this match is way, way removed from the tempo that the All Blacks play at.
And certainly poor in comparison, Martin, to the game witnessed yesterday, Australia and Ireland, which wasn't given a great deal of credit, but played at a much quicker pace than we've seen this afternoon.
Auburn to restart. Webb, fresh from his penalty success. And a good kick that time by Webb, clearing his line, getting some 35 metres. Concern being expressed by the England camp. There's 10 points in it though, and plenty of time to play. We're now into the 37th minute of the second half, and of course there'll be a fair amount of time added on for injuries. Phillips with a throw. Moriarty, tremendous jump by the Swansea man. But not allowed. The throw in not straight. The option to England. And they go for a scrum. One must credit this Welsh front row. A highly controversial and experimental selection. They stuck to their task. But England have this one as the Welsh drive across field. Moriarty with a pickup runs into Rees. And a little bit of aggravation from Hugh Richards. Going through on, well, Richards on Richards really, on Dean Richards. Showing the lock from Leicester as he was on the field. And the option be given of the free kick to England once again, and this will be a worry. A bit of indiscipline, a little bit of back chat to René Urquet, and away come England again. The set up by Winterbottom. Down onto the deck it comes from Moore. Rees charges on for England as well. Harding waits for the possession. Up to Williams. That's going to go for the corner. That's going to bring pressure onto the Welsh. Ieuan Evans giving chase. And England beginning to sense that they may be able to pull this one out of the bag.
And I think they've decided on a tighter approach, Martin. I think it may be a little bit late for them, but they certainly decided to play a tighter game with the ball being driven to the corners.
This is Alan Phillips, the injured party. And we're quickly running out of people who've not been injured in this game in the Welsh camp. Alan Phillips absolutely delighted, of course, that he's back into the Welsh reckoning, having been called out here, having waited 5 years for a recall, bided his time.
You did compliment the Welsh front row earlier on, and I think all credit equally to the three of them, but possibly a special mention to Alan. I think his presence with the young lads who've come in, I'd have thought has been very, very influential in their success this afternoon.
Tony Gray flanked by Mark Titley and Kevin Hopkins. So this a worrying time for Wales as we go into injury time, albeit by 20 seconds. And then it'll depend on the watch of René Urquet. There have been several stoppages. Phillips throws, goes back to the Welsh side. Robert Jones into touch, who's touched in flight as well. Alan Phillips goes running through as well. But it'll be an England throw once again. And they've got the main target men of Dooley, Dean Richards at the back, and Redmond at the front. Richards to Redmond on the peel. England setting it up just inside the Welsh 22. Rees lending a hand there, so too is Chilcott, the replacement. A little bit of indecision once again. That could be costly for England. That was good ball, well won by the forwards. Wales trying to salvage something for it. Away goes Salmon to Harding. Harding on the far side, tries to get the ball. A good pick up by Richie Collins. He laid back as the Welsh drive in and set it up for the defensive kick for Robert Jones. Well, that's the penalty. And the explanation from René Urquet, certainly mystifying everybody, but it certainly is a penalty to Wales.
I thought he was suggesting there that Robert Jones had knocked on, and Robert had actually touched the ball. But yes, I think his signals have been rather mystifying this afternoon.
The way things have been going, it wouldn't have surprised any of us. Paul Thorburn with the kick from the 22, all the way down to Rory Underwood. And England now being forced to counter-attack from anywhere on the field if they're going to stay alive in the World Cup competition. Harrison up against Hadley, but Harrison's got two men outside him, decides to go, and then goes on his own, up against Hadley. And that surely was a mistake by the England captain. Two men outside and going rather selfishly on his own.
I think that reflects the play of the England backs today. I think, first of all, they played a completely wrong game because they should have taken Wales up more up front, I feel, and the decision-making behind has been dreadful.
A throw to the middle, Dooley palms down, but it's bad ball for Harding. This again is a penalty to England against Wales. Harding quickly taken up to Rees of Nottingham. The Nottingham man goes down towards the Welsh 22 and a penalty. Well, it's becoming a succession, rather ridiculous, this match at the moment. The decisions of René Urquet are often confusing, but this surfeit of penalties giving the game this intermittent quality. Corbyn with a kick into touch. We are well into injury time. 2.5 minutes of injury time played. Wales still leading 10 points to 3. And surely now they can look forward to their next Brisbane game. That's David Young wearing the scars of battle. The ball to the back of the line-out. England, last desperate attack maybe. Sims, they missed out a man to Webb. Underwood on the far side. Has a jink. Ieuan Evans has hold of his man this time. No release of the ball as yet. Now it comes out. and another bit of friction. Well, the advantage was paid, and back they'll come for a